If you're a teacher, particularly in the music field, you should have moved to online lessons for some weeks now. If this is your case, keep watching because I'm going to share with you the best studio setup that you could possibly come up with, so to offer the best learning experience to your students. Speaking of delivering the best learning experience to your students, I think that we have three main aspects we want to take into considerations. First thing is definitely going to be the audio quality on both sides, from the teacher perspective and from the student perspective. I talk about this in my previous video, so if you haven't yet, go back. There should be something popping up here right now and you can figure out the best audio settings for Zoom meetings. In second place, we're going to consider video aspects of teaching on Zoom. And I'm always referring to Zoom because that's the platform of choice, at least from my perspective. Now let me quickly explain the reason behind every component of my studio setup. I said laptop or desktop because, as I showed you in my previous video, you can work out better audio settings so that you get rid of any denoise or noise gate suppressors that Zoom usually put by default when you start a meeting. Then in second place, especially if you have to teach instrumental lessons, let's say guitar lessons, piano lessons, or any other kind of instrument in which you used to have your instrument plugged into an amplifying source. There are many tutorials on YouTube already that shows you that probably the best solution will be to use an external hardware mixer so that you can plug in as many inputs as you need. Could be mics, could be instruments, could be MP3s, readers, or any other sort of device you need to plug. Of course, having an external hardware mixer is something that will definitely help you. But what if you don't have an external mixer? So if you don't have an external mixer that you can use to include more than one audio input to be delivered on Zoom, and that's my case as well, then you might need to use an audio interface with at least a couple of inputs in which you can plug an external microphone so that to guarantee a better audio quality to your speaking, and then the second input can be used in case you are going to deliver instrumental lessons. Now there's a little software challenge that hides behind the willing to use more than one audio input, because the fact that you are not going to use an external mixer requires your computer and your audio system to find an alternative way to mix those two inputs so that to be transmitted on Zoom, because otherwise Zoom can't natively figure out more than one input even if you have a sound card that allows many inputs. So in order to solve this issue, the software that I'm going to recommend you is called Ladiocast, and is a sort of a software mixing application that allows you to acquire the inputs plugged into your sound interface and takes care of making Zoom aware of the fact that you have more than one sources at the time to be delivered. Okay, so here we are on my desktop. Let me just show you Ladiocast. Let me open that. As you can see, you got this sort of a real mixer user interface, but you can see that you have your inputs on the left side and you can choose a main output, and like I have three auxiliary outputs here, and what I did was to plug my external microphone into my audio interface, which is the Motu UltraLite mkIII. The good thing about Ladiocast is that actually I can change what input I'm going to choose to put into the so-called input one of the software. So I'm going to do that one for 1 sec just to show you that maybe there should be some buzzy or some weird sound now. But you can see, of course, my mic is just on input number 1, so if I choose other inputs here, there's no sound at all. So let me go back to the number 1. There you go. The other thing I did, you can see I have number 4 and number 6 here, is that I choose to connect my guitar to the input 4 and 6 of my Motu sound card. So at the moment my guitar goes into a Blackstar amp, and from the Blackstar I go through the DI output into the Motu sound card. Okay, so now I'm not sure if this is also going out now. I think so. Anyway, let's try. Yeah, okay, so now let's see how these work once you want to deliver these audio inputs on Zoom. Okay, so let's go straight to the settings section. The audio section, as you can see, as microphone, I have many choices. It could be like the built-in microphone from my Mac. There could be the Motu, but if I go for that, it's not really working as you might expect, because as I mentioned before in the video, you need to prepare a software alternative to let Zoom to be aware of what is your audio stream. Okay, now let's do a quick test for the audio on Zoom. 1, 2, 3, mic test and guitar. 1, 2, 3, mic test and guitar. So we got 2 audio inputs now that can be delivered on Zoom every time we need to teach online. Now there are many YouTube tutorials already that you can follow, and I'm going to include in the description below the one that I've used so that to configure my setup. But just let me know in the comment section if you want me to go for a more detailed explanation on how to set up the audio interface so that to work with Ladiocast. Now, speaking about the video aspect of delivering high quality lessons on Zoom, definitely the first thing you want to make sure is that your web camera is offering full HD quality video. Usually the latest versions of any kind of laptop computer should now include that sort of webcam. But if this is not the case, you might want to consider to buy an external webcam or use any other sort of high quality camera you might already have. But besides that, you might have the opportunity to offer a second angle, a different angle that maybe can be pointed towards your instrument, say the guitar, or your hands on the keyboard, so that to make sure that your students can always get access to all the informations that they might require in order to get a better learning experience. So for example, in my case, what I'm going to do is to use my mobile phone as a secondary camera to be put in front of my guitar when I deliver guitar lessons. So I have opened on my computer right now a Zoom meeting. So I'm the host, and what I'm going to do now is to try and get into the same meeting. So now let's go on to the Zoom app on my mobile phone, and let's try to join the same meeting. Now I should have this one going on. Alright, and now I just want to make sure, okay, you should be look at my secondary camera, but you can share a lot of different audios. So you want to mute the camera on the phone, and also you want to mute the speaker. Okay, no mic and no camera. And let's turn all the volume down on the mobile phone. Alright, now let's try to get the other camera, and once you are done with that, you should have your two angles rolling. And if I grab my guitar, I can now offer a closer angle on whatever I'm doing on guitar, okay? And I think this is a really quick and easy solution to offer a really high quality final result, okay, when you have to deliver online music lessons, particularly when you have an instrument. Could be a guitar, could be keyboards, could be any other things in which you want to provide your students with more than just a main camera on your face, but you also want to offer a closer view on what happens on your instrument. Now, the reason why I decided to include a tablet in my setup is because the option of sharing screens actually extend even out of what you have on your desktop or laptop screen. I think this is a really powerful tool that you have at your disposal, because this definitely increases the quality of your online lessons. Now, to get more into my field, which is music related, what I found very useful is to use a couple of different apps, not just for teaching, but in this case, since we're talking about how to improve our teaching experience, I'm gonna just show you a couple of them. The first one is called Piascore, which is a free music scores reader. And the second one is Paper, which is not like a native music dedicated app, but still I found it really useful when it comes up to do a little bit of interactive lessons with your students. Now, for what regards Piascore, first off, this is a free app that still allows you to get access to many of the features that you might find in more expensive applications like this. In particular, of course, the annotation tool should be the one that you will find more useful when you are teaching online. And then, of course, being able to access music handbook that you might use to work with during your lessons, and being able to share your screen and to talk through and guide your students on any page from these scores or these handbooks is going to be very, very effective. Okay, so now let's just give a quick look to what opportunities you have when it comes to share your screen on Zoom and you have a tablet plugged into your main device. Okay, so for example, at the moment I have my iPad plugged into my computer with a cable. So now I choose this as the device that I want to share. You got it, and let's say that you can see I have Piascore down on my main bar here, and you can literally work on any sort of score you previously made. This is one of my cheat sheet that I use back in the days when we were allowed to do gigs, right? This is from I think a funky soul function band. You can see Give Me the Night, very nice song. This is the George Benson version that I've transcribed here. I'm not sure if the key was the original one, but anyway, you can see that. And Pick Up the Pieces was the one that we used to put right after Give Me the Night. And so just think about the fact that you can, of course, work with notation on Piascore, and think of that. Imagine that you're teaching and you have your students, and he or she, they are literally looking at this very score. Okay, now just forget about my bad handwriting, but I think this is a really powerful tool that you have at your disposal. Now I'm just showing you this on Piascore, but let's just try to grab something different, because the main thing for Piascore, I think, is that it comes when you have some sort of handbook or something like that. These were like free scores that came with Piascore, so I'm gonna just use this one. Say that you are a piano teacher and you want to share something like this with your students and maybe just take a few notes with that. So that's, I think, once again, this is really powerful when it comes to improve the quality of your teaching online. Now, for what regards paper, as I mentioned before, this is not a specifically music-oriented app, but still it has huge potential if you just think about the fact that you can use this as a sort of a magic board, as the ones that maybe many of us music teachers used to have in their rooms in schools. So think about those boards with staves and magnets that you used to work with back in the days. So again, I'm going to share my screen, choosing my iPad, which is plugged into my main device. And now I'm already on the app. What I have here is just a couple of pages. The first one is a blank page, and of course this is like the most basic thing that you can do. Think about, for example, talking about rhythm and introducing clapping exercises to your students. This is something that I used to do, especially with the younger ones. And you know, we set a sort of a code to understand and get used to different sort of rhythms and durations of any music figures you can have on the screen. This is really powerful as a tool, I think. Okay, same goes for when, for example, you have to introduce dynamics or other music symbols that would benefit from a real full explanation to your students. And now let's say that this is the very first and most immediate thing you can do, but then since this app allows you to actually import different backgrounds, what I did here was to create previously a pentagram sheet, and with this one now what I can do is, for example, talking about the treble clef by actually introducing them maybe to some reading exercise. Since I teach guitar, you know, I might just want to start with the high E string, introducing them to the very first 3 notes we can get there, and maybe just have them telling them what fret you can get those notes and what we are actually talking about, something like that. You've seen this same kind of background used by me on Piascore, in the sense that, of course, once, let's say that you're actually creating a score, you can then export it as a PDF or as an image and use that in any other sort of ways you might find useful for you. So this is pretty much the 2 main ways that I use paper to support and improve the quality of my teaching online. Now, I don't want to spend too much time here talking about either Piascore or paper, but just let me know in the comment section if you would like to have more detail about that, and I will totally work on a new video to better work out how I use these 2 apps for my teaching online. So this is it for the moment. If you find anything useful during this video, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.